Am I the asshole for locking my brother out of my house after what he tried to do with my girlfriend? My brother hasn't spoken to me in 3 weeks. My parents say I overreacted, and my girlfriend still refuses to be in the same room as him. This all happened because I let him stay with me for just a few weeks. For context, I'm 28M and my younger brother Jake is 25. Jake has always been the kind of guy who somehow turns every situation into drama. He's funny and charming when you first meet him, but living with him is different. 3 months ago, he lost his job and got kicked out of his apartment because he fell behind on rent. He called me saying he had nowhere else to go. My girlfriend Emma, 27F, and I live together in a small house, but she agreed we could let him stay temporarily while he figured things out. At first things were fine. He helped with groceries sometimes, watched movies with us, normal stuff. But after a couple weeks, I started noticing little things that made me uncomfortable. Jake would make comments to Emma like, "If my brother ever messes up, you know you could do better." He said it jokingly, but it happened often enough that I told him to chill out. Emma told me not to worry, and that she was used to guys making weird jokes. Then about 2 weeks ago, I had to leave town overnight for work. The next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls from Emma and a long message that just said, "Please come home." When I called her, she sounded shaken. She told me something happened the night before. Apparently, Jake had been drinking and knocked on our bedroom door around midnight. Emma assumed he needed something like a ride or help with something. Instead, he asked if she wanted to hang out with him. She said no and tried to close the door. But he leaned against the frame and said something like, "Come on, you must get bored with my brother sometimes." Emma told him to get lost and locked the door. He eventually left, but she barely slept the rest of the night. When she told me all this, I was furious. I drove home immediately. Jake was sitting in the living room like nothing happened. I asked him what he did the night before, and he laughed and said Emma was overreacting. He said he was just joking around and she couldn't take a compliment. That's when I completely lost it. I told him to pack his stuff and get out immediately. He refused and said I was choosing a girl over my own brother. So I grabbed his bags, put them outside, and locked the door. He ended up calling our parents, and now they're involved. My mom says Jake was drunk and probably didn't mean it the way Emma took it. My dad says kicking him out with nowhere to go was too harsh. Jake is telling everyone I threw him out because Emma twisted his words. But Emma still feels uncomfortable even knowing he might come back. I told my family he's not welcome in our house again. Now they're saying I've blown the whole situation out of proportion. So, am I the asshole for locking my brother out after what he said to my girlfriend? Alright, that one was messy, but this next confession might be even worse.
Am I the asshole for telling my sister's fiancé the real reason her last engagement ended right before their wedding? My entire family is furious with me right now, and my sister says I destroyed her life out of jealousy. But I honestly think her fiancé deserved to know the truth. For context, my sister, 30, female, has always been the golden child in our family. She's charming, outgoing, and somehow manages to turn every situation in her favor. I'm the older sibling, 32, male, and growing up it was pretty clear that whatever she did wrong somehow got brushed aside. 3 years ago, she got engaged to a guy named Daniel. They were together for about 4 years and seemed solid. Then out of nowhere, the engagement ended. At the time, she told everyone Daniel had commitment issues and got cold feet. That wasn't what actually happened. What really happened was that she cheated on him with one of his friends and Daniel found out. I only know this because she called me in tears the night everything blew up and admitted it. Our parents never learned the truth because she begged me not to tell them. Fast forward to now. She's engaged again to a guy named Ryan. They've been together about a year and a half, and the wedding was supposed to be this weekend. Ryan is genuinely a great guy, quiet, respectful, and honestly a little too trusting. A few days ago, we were all at a family dinner before the wedding. Everyone was drinking, celebrating, and talking about how perfect everything was. At one point, Ryan jokingly said, "I'm just glad I found someone who believes in loyalty. Cheating is the one thing I could never forgive." My sister went completely quiet. Then she laughed and said something like, "Well, good thing I'd never do that." The way she said it made my stomach drop. Ryan looked over at me and said, "Right, your sister would never do something like that." And before I even really thought about it, I said, "You might want to ask Daniel about that." The entire table went silent. My sister immediately started yelling at me to shut up. Ryan looked confused and asked what I meant. I told him that Daniel didn't leave because of commitment issues. He left because she cheated on him. My sister started crying and saying I was lying. But then Ryan asked her directly if it was true. She didn't answer. Ryan ended up leaving the dinner early. The wedding has now been postponed indefinitely. My parents are furious and say I should have kept my mouth shut because it was in the past. My sister says I sabotaged her relationship out of jealousy and that I had no right to bring up something that happened years ago. But honestly, if I were about to marry someone, I'd want to know something like that. Now half my family won't talk to me. So am I the asshole for telling my sister's fiancé why her last engagement actually ended?
Before we get to the final story, don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered confessions like these. Am I the asshole for reporting my boss to corporate after he tried to make me take the blame for his mistake? The short version is that my boss might lose his job, and now some of my coworkers think I went too far. I work in a mid-sized logistics company doing scheduling and inventory coordination. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and I've been there about 4 years. My boss, Greg, late 40s, started managing our department about a year ago. Greg is the type of manager who likes to look good to upper management but doesn't really understand how our systems work. At first, I tried to help him out because he was new. I'd show him reports, explain processes, stuff like that. But after a few months, I started noticing a pattern. Whenever something went well, Greg would present it as his idea. Whenever something went wrong, he'd start looking for someone else to blame. 2 weeks ago, we had a major shipping issue. One of our biggest clients was supposed to receive a large order on Monday morning. The shipment didn't go out on Friday like it should have, which meant the client's warehouse was sitting idle waiting for inventory. Upper management started asking questions immediately because this client is worth a lot of money to the company. Greg called me into his office that morning and asked if I had scheduled the shipment. I told him no. The shipment had been reassigned earlier that week because Greg personally changed the schedule. I remember that clearly because I had actually warned him the new timeline might cause problems. He got quiet for a moment and then said something that immediately made my stomach drop. He said, "If anyone asks, just say you forgot to finalize it." I honestly thought he was joking at first. He was. He said it would be easier if we just told management there was a clerical oversight and that it would blow over. I told him I wasn't comfortable saying that because it wasn't true. He got annoyed and said something like, "Look, mistakes happen. Sometimes you take one for the team." That's when I started getting worried. Later that day, he emailed our department asking who had handled the shipment. The way the email was written made it sound like he was already implying it was my responsibility. Luckily, I'm the kind of person who saves everything. I had the internal messages from earlier in the week where Greg told me he was changing the shipping schedule himself. I also had the report showing he personally approved the modification. So when HR asked for details about the delay, I sent them the full email chain and system logs. Now corporate is investigating what happened. Greg pulled me aside yesterday and said I threw him under the bus and that I could have handled it privately instead of escalating things. A couple coworkers have also told me that even though Greg was wrong, reporting it to HR might have been too aggressive and could get him fired. But from my perspective, he was literally trying to pin his mistake on me. Now the office atmosphere is tense and Greg barely speaks to me. So, am I the asshole for reporting my boss after he tried to make me take the blame for his mistake? If you enjoyed the stories, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments who you think was in the wrong. And if you want more unfiltered confessions, don't forget to like and subscribe.